Welcome to the 21st Sports 2015 Season Preview for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to go over the roster and the season schedule and make predictions for every single game in the regular season. So let's get started with the roster. And at quarterback, you have Blake Bortles. This is going to be his second year. He went through some growing pains last year. And, you got to think. And Troy Aikman, his first year, he was 1-15. But Blake Bortles in his rookie year, 2,908 passing yards. He had 11 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. And that's a number he's going to have to, at the very least, flip. Of course, they didn't have a real strong running game. Denard Robinson, he was productive, but he's not really a running back. And he was their leading rusher with 582 rushing yards. Bortles actually had 419 rushing yards to be their second leading rusher. But Robinson had 4 touchdowns, and they did address that issue at running back by going out and drafting T.J. Yeldon from Alabama. And so with Yeldon as their main running back and Robinson contributing, between the two of them, they actually should have a pretty balanced running game. And then at receiver, they have Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns, and they drafted Rashad Green from Florida State. And he was very productive in college. And so it'll be interesting to see what he does here at the next level. Of course, they have Marquise Lee as well. And they brought in tight end Julius Thomas. That's the big addition, through free agency on their offense. And that should be a really big target for Blake Bortles, especially when they get down inside the red zone. And that should help him to increase his touchdown number and get that to where it's bigger than his interception number. So that's something that you cannot have in the NFL. I actually think they're going to have a decent season and, move forward and progress towards the goal, of eventually, competing for the division title and eventually making the playoffs. Not quite this year, but they are on the right track. And let's look at their defense. And up front, you got Andre Branch at defensive end. And then you have new addition Jared Odrick coming over from the Dolphins on the other end. And then in the middle, you have Derek Marks and Roy Miller. And then at linebacker on the outside, you have Telvin Smith and new addition Dan Skuta as he came over from the Niners. And in the middle, Paul Pluslusny, and he has been a force in the middle. He's been the rock, the cornerstone of their defense the entire time that he's been there. And he's, been a leader in the locker room. And he also usually leads the team in tackles, although last year it was Jonathan Cyprian who had 114 tackles to lead the team. As Pluslusny only had 89 tackles last year. But let's keep going through the defense, and they actually have some new additions in the secondaries. You have Devon House at corner, and then you also have Aaron Colvin on the other side, and then you have new addition Sergio Brown at free safety, and at strong safety, of course, Jonathan Cyprian, and he is another one of the cornerstones of this defense, as they do have some talent up and down, this defense up front and in the middle and in the secondary. Of course, they said you got a couple new guys in House and Brown. It'll be interesting to see what they do in this defense. It'll be interesting to see, too, what Skuta does next to Pluslusny. And, Telvin Smith is coming to his own as well. And then up front, I believe they can be a force. I think they're actually pretty good up front. I think this defense is kind of underrated in my estimations. So then we look at the special teams, and you have Jason Myers taking over the kicking duties. And you have Brian Anger at punter. And then for the kick returns and punt returns, you have Corey Grant and Denard Robinson returning kicks, and Rashad Green looks like he'll be returning the punts as the rookie. And he's a threat, and so is Denard also, and Grant as well. So pretty decent special teams. Now let's go over their schedule and give our predictions for the entire season. And starting off in Week 1, September 13th, they'll be going up against the Panthers. And these two teams came into the league at the same time. Of course, the Panthers didn't end up going to the Super Bowl, but the Jags have been to the AFC Championship, and they did it actually pretty quickly after joining the league, just a couple years after. But I believe in this game they will beat the Panthers. It's in Jacksonville. I think they can win this one. So then they have the Battle of Florida in Week 2, September 20th. They're going to be hosting the Miami Dolphins. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff. And I think the Miami Dolphins are going to beat them. The Dolphins are just a really, really good team. They're one of the top teams this year in the AFC. I think they'll go into Jacksonville and win this game. Then week 3, they got another tough game. They start off with a really tough stretch here from weeks 2 to 6, as they're against all teams that I have making the playoffs. So it's the schedule makers didn't do the Jags any favors, especially early on. As that seems to be like a running theme, that the Jags have tough schedules early on, and it makes it tough for them to get anything going, and build up, some wins to build on their success, as they got all these tough teams, right in the beginning. So, and that's, week 3, second tough team in a row, as they got to go to New England to face the Patriots. And I have the Patriots winning that game. Then week 4, October 4th, 1 o'clock kickoff. And it's the second road game in the row, as well as they got a 3-game road stretch right here. And they got to go up against the Colts. So I have the Colts winning that game. Then week 5, October 11th, 1 o'clock kickoff. It's their third road game in a row. Of course, it's not too far of a trip. It's the second time they'll be having a Battle of Florida in just the first 5 weeks. First, they'll be hosting Miami, and then in week 5, week 2, hosting Miami. Week 5, going to Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers. And I think the Bucs are going to be a really good team. I think it'll actually be a pretty good game. I wish this was kind of like a Thursday night game, but so I think the Bucs win this one. Then week 6, they'll be hosting the Texans, and like I said, it's this stretch where it's just like the Dolphins, Patriots, Colts, Bucs, and then the Texans. It's like, man, does it get any tougher? Only thing it would be tougher is if you get through the Packers and the Seahawks in on that. But this game right here, I got Houston winning it. So after starting off with that win, I have them losing 5 games in a row. It's just, it sucks that they have such a tough schedule at that point. Just tough team after tough team after tough team. But then week 7, they're going to be going across the pond over to London. That's October 25th. It's going to be at 9:30 a.m. kickoff. All these times are Eastern. And this actually robs them of a home game. They're going to be the home team over in London. That doesn't help them any. But they're going to be going against the Bills. And I believe they'll win this game, though. So even though they got robbed of a home game, they still get a W. And that's what really matters. So then going into the bye week, they're 2-5 at this point. But coming out the bye week, week 9, they're going to be going to New York to face the Jets. That's November 8th, a 1 o'clock kickoff. And I believe that they will beat the JETSs. I believe they'll beat their JETSs. But anyway, so week 10, November 15th, 1 o'clock kickoff. Second straight road game. And this one's against the Baltimore Ravens. And I think the Ravens are going to win this game. It's tough having those back-to-back road games. And so then week 11, November 19th, they're going to be back at home, and this is their only prime time game of the season. It's a Thursday night game, as they'll be hosting the Tennessee Titans, and I believe that they will beat the Titans. It's an 8:25 kickoff there, so I believe they get the win there. Then on week 12, November 29th, 1 o'clock kickoff, they're hosting the Chargers. And the Chargers are a really good team, but I think that the Jags can actually win this one. It's in Jacksonville. And I like them to win and win their second game in the row, as they get a little mini streak going here. And in week 13, December 6th, they go to Tennessee, 1 o'clock kickoff, to face their division rivals, the Titans. And I believe they actually will sweep the season series against the Titans. And that'll be a 3-game winning streak for them at this point in the season. And so then week 14, December 13th, 1 o'clock kickoff, they're going to be hosting the Colts. And I believe this time around, the Colts are going to beat them in Indy, and then they're going to beat them in Jacksonville. It's their division rivals. It's tough to beat your division rival twice, but I think the Colts will sweep the season series against the Jags. The Colts are going to be really tough this year. So then week 15, December 20th, 1 o'clock kickoff, they're going to be hosting the Falcons. And the Falcons, I think, will be a little improved from last year, but I believe the Jaguars can beat the Falcons in this game. It's in Jacksonville, and I think they get the W. So in week 16, December 27th, 1 o'clock kickoff, they go to New Orleans, the first of 2 road games to finish the season. So it's like as if it wasn't tough enough with the way they start the season with all those monsters on their schedule. Now they get to end the season with 2 road games. It's like, thank you very much, schedule makers. Why don't you like the Jags? But so I think that the Saints win this one. They're really tough in New Orleans. They're like a different team in New Orleans. They play so much better in New Orleans for some reason. I think they're going to win this one. So in week 17, January 3rd, 1 o'clock kickoff in Houston against the Texans. And the Texans are going to be a real tough team. They got a solid defense, especially with the addition of Vince Wilfork. And, if they're at full strength, they're going to be a tough team to beat. So I think the Texans win this game, and I think they're going to sweep the Jags in the season series. Of course, that's tough to do, so maybe the Jags can beat them earlier on in Week 6. I think in Houston, though, the Texans get the best of them. So that puts the Jaguars actually at 7-9. It is technically a losing season, but it's not the worst season, and it's something to build towards and to move forward with. And then next year, if they can get above 500, maybe even be a wild card team possibly, and then the year after that, actually challenge the Texans and the Colts for the division title. It takes time. It's not always just overnight, and I think that they do have a lot of talent, and they potentially, they might be able to go on a run this year even. They do have some players there. Like I said, I like the Jags, but they got just such a tough schedule starting off. It's just, if it wasn't for that, if they had like a different schedule, they maybe even could make the playoffs. But that stretch there, Dolphins, Patriots, Colts, Bucks, Texans, it's like a murderer's row of the AFC East. Well, former AFC East, because the Colts used to be in the AFC East before realignment. But that's how I have it picked. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions, what you think about the roster, the schedule, and our predictions, and what are your predictions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and have a great weekend, and enjoy all the sports.